Hey everyone, it's me, Nathan, TransMidwife. I am going to record quite a serious video now about a topic that means a lot to me. I just want to put a disclaimer that I'm recording it off the cuff, so it's a hell of a lot of my personal feelings and thoughts about something. And it's okay if they're different to your thoughts and feelings, and that's what we're doing, and we can have a chat. So it's about the topic of gender as a social construct. And the reason that I want to make a video about it is because I keep seeing that sentence written, gender is a social construct. And every time that I see it written down, I actually have a negative reaction to it. So it doesn't make me feel safe or understood or validated as a trans person. And I should say, so I'm transgender, FTM, so I was assigned female at birth. What's my hair doing? Being weird. I was assigned female at birth, and I am medically transitioning so that my body appears male, and then it will fit with my brain, who I was born as, basically, as a man. So yeah. Gender. Here we go. The reason that I struggle with that sentence is because I believe and need to believe for my own validation that gender is more than a social construct, more than just being created by society. What I think is that gender has always been there. And when I say gender, I mean a deep feeling about identity. And that could be a lack of gender, or two-spirited people who, if they don't use that word, but non-binary or gender fluid or whatever, so they can have multiple genders exist inside them, or no gender, as I said. That is all valid and all real, but I don't think that that's created by society. I think it is a deep, on a psychological level, on a biological level, I think it's a very real thing in our genetics. The reason I believe that is because it's so written through every being in nature and every culture in our world and in human world, to have difference in energy that seems to trend through some sort of gender or biological sex. And another disclaimer, biological sex, again, there is not two of them. I'm not saying in any way ever that there is two genders or two sexes. There are lots of them. Biological sex can be very different. There's lots of different types of bodies. There's intersex bodies, and there's also variations in chromosomes, and they're found a lot in trans people. So it's people who might appear, at birth a certain way, but actually their genetics are very different to their outward appearance and all that stuff. So there's all that stuff going on in nature. It's fluid, it's movable, it's not boxes, it's, open-ended. However, I see trends of energy, if you like, which bring with it roles, right? Gender roles, because of the energy of the being of each person. And I feel that can be seen throughout nature. Another reason that I believe gender is deeper than a social construct is because of my experience now that I have been governed by both types of hormones. So I have been governed by estrogen for many long years, and I have now been governed by testosterone for about a year, and the differences are big, and it's because it's now it's sort of it's like there's my gender, right? And then there's my brain and my hormones and my body fitting with my gender. So one of the big differences, so a lot of one of the bullshit things that society says are, you know, oh, men have to be tough and men don't cry or shouldn't cry, and you know that causes high suicide rates in men, and it's really shit and horrible stuff to say. And a lot of people say, like, if men were raised in an environment where they could be as emotional as they needed to, then they would be just as emotional as women. But what I'm experiencing is when I was governed by estrogen, even when I realised that I felt male inside, I was very, very emotional. So I'd cry very easily, I'd cry at work and with friends, and I mean good crying and bad crying, and I did lots of up and downs, so I'd feel very high peaks of kind of giddy joy, and I'd feel low troughs of weepy sadness, and I'd laugh a lot, and it was very woo 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 woo, up and down emotion roller coaster, you know. And testosterone is just so different. It's so steady and so, like, each day I wake up just feeling okay. People ask me how I'm feeling. I used to always say good or bad. Now I just say I'm fine. I'm okay. And that is not me trying to be masculine. That's genuinely the truth. I have gone very, very flat and steady. And actually, for a while, I perceived it as depression, which is interesting. And I do wonder if it's why men are more likely to get depression, because it's just smooth sailing. You don't get the peaks unless you don't get the peaks or the troughs unless something big is happening. And I find I don't tend to get the peaks or the troughs from little things, and I don't float up and down. The point of that is real. That is not because of society, you know, that's my body, that's hormones, and that is something that is threaded through, it's like the trends, you know, so the majority of you know, masculine people, for example. And yeah, I think so that's sort of some of my thoughts about gender and how I believe it to be deeper than a social construct. And then the social construct part itself. My theory and what I think happened was that there was a load of people, right? And there was some people more on this side, and there was some people more on this side, and there were some people in the middle. Like this. You see this? Those are our three kind of vague, you know. And it was all very loose and fluid, and there'd be people who were respected and loved for being all three, or, you know, being in the middle and what have you, or not being in. There could be some people over here who are just completely away from all gender, and that's all cool. But I believe that from birth that was a real thing, and because of that energy, those people would adopt roles in kind of groups or whatever, families and so on, that fit with that energy that they wanted and that made them feel, you know, as good as possible, right? And then what society did do was put a load of shit on top of that. So they polar opposed those two sides. So you had one right over here and one right over here. and they poured all of this crap, pink and blue and dollies and monster trucks, and they poured it all onto them, and banking and staying at home and raising kids, or, you know, working with, I don't know, whatever, you know, tools, there you go. They did that, and then there were these people left in the middle, and then they're like, oh, okay, so I don't fit into this world anymore. I don't fit into society, and you don't value me because I don't belong to one of these two big polarised sides. And that's the bullshit. Not gender itself. It's all the stuff that society put on top of it, right? And that is why gender is a social construct, is not a sentence that fits comfortably with me, or makes me feel valid. And don't get me wrong, you know, if that's something you want to say because it makes you feel safe and more comfortable, and it's something that you believe, that's great, and I respect people's different beliefs. I'm just talking about me and why I think the way I do about it. I tell you about a story that I had with experiencing these polarized sides. I was going to a birthday party for twin 6-year-olds, and one of them is a girl at the moment, and one of them is a boy at the moment. And so I go to Tesco or whatever, and I'm standing there, and I look from one side to the other, and there is just a wall of pink and a wall of blue, and in the pink side it's all makeup and fluffy bunnies and dresses and all that, and then on the blue side we have got monster trucks and superheroes and toolboxes and all of that. And I stood there and I thought, I had a panic, I had an actual panic in this shop. And I said to myself, as a trans person, I cannot buy into this. I cannot turn up at a twin birthday party and give one of them something pink and sparkly and one of them something butch and tools and rrr, because I'm putting it onto them. I'm telling them who they are. And just to clarify, I didn't know these children well. I don't know what they like. If I knew what I like, fine. If the girls told me to my face that they love pink sparkly things, and the boys told me, oh, I love monster trucks, I'm like, grand, have what you want. But when I don't know them, to assume, based on their genitals, that these toys are appropriate and that would make them happy, it made me feel sick. It made me feel sick. So that's the bullshit, but not gender itself. Don't demonise gender because of what's been put on top of it, you know? I think that's about explained it. Kind of why that sentence doesn't work for me as a trans person. I notice a lot of allies using that sentence, and you know, some of them are amazing allies, and I'm not questioning that at all. But I think it's important for them to know that that sentence doesn't work for every trans person. But at the same time, if it works for you, that's great. That's awesome. And I'm glad. I hope this video has explained in some way clearly why I struggle with those particular words in that particular order, and a bit more about gender and society and my insights now that I am mid-transition and all that. Yeah, thanks. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna pick up the phone and